and you feel like you're not having to make too much of an effort. So sometimes, you know, you have to separate your feet further or whatever. And then you can have your hands on the belly or just keep them down, whatever you choose. Start to connect the breath. Begin to feel the parts of the body that are touching the mat, just to bring yourself present, connecting with your mat this morning. And we're going to bring it back to basics, even though this is a gentle class and we keep it pretty basic. The beginning of what we learn in yoga, the very first, you know, what is from the book of Yoga Sutras, which is where we get our practice on and off the mat, is now begins the study of yoga, and it begins with the breath. So as we go through the postures this morning, we're going to focus deeply on how you're breathing through them. We're going to take a couple more just passive breaths, and then I'm going to have you do what is just called the even breath. So the even breath is just inhale, exhale without pause. But as you inhale, I want you to expand the rib cage evenly. So your back is pressing against the mat, and that will, you know, put some compression there. But the side ribs and the front ribs, be sure that you're expanding those areas consciously. And as you exhale, you might get this sense that you want to close off the back of your throat just to slow the breath down. Just exhale the way the body wants. Inhale, breathe evenly, expand the rib cage on all four sides. And then exhale. We're going to do this a few more times. And the thing about the body being in the fight or flight mode, so obviously we're not running from tigers anymore and things like that. But what we are doing when we are under, you know, in stressful or in stressful situations, it's like having that cortisol and that adrenaline on a slow drip in our bodies, just all day long, just stress. And that obviously begins to affect our health. So the breath is what will bring us back to the rest and digest. Go ahead and take. What's that?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. I heard somebody talking in the background. Go ahead and breathe normally now. And then we're going to take a long stretch. So bring the arms overhead and then start to bring the knees back and forth, kind of like windshield wiper legs, just to start to open the hips. And then you can slow down, bring it to a stop, roll onto your right side, and come up to a seated position. Once you're at a seated position, we're going to inhale, bring the arms up, palms together, exhale. Again, inhale up. We're going to do it again, but with a twist. So inhale, arms up. Rotate to the right and exhale your arms down. Inhale back to center, to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. Right hand comes to the mat, left arm up, lean to the right. Other side. We're just doing this part a little bit quicker, but still with the breath. Last time, leaning to the left. And then come to hands and knees. Begin with the Betalasana. Always, the same warm-up postures you're gonna find with me because they're very valuable. So knees hip width apart, toes uncurled. Begin raising the tailbone, dropping the spine and lifting the gaze. Be sure you're not bending the cervical spine. Just lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, arch. Inhale, drop. Continue doing this. Once you're dropping the spine towards the mat, see if you can kind of pull the mat towards you with your hands, and that'll help kind of open up the hips a little bit more. Continue, we'll do 2 more rounds. And then we'll meet at a flat back. So doing thread the needle next, you're gonna bring your left hand to the center of the mat. Inhale for a counter twist here. So right fingertips up, exhale, slide it under. Bring your head down to the mat and reach the right fingertips. So even after you take a breath or 2 here, see if you can continue to creep the right fingertips to get that stretch from the shoulder socket. Press your left hand into the mat, or you can also extend it over the head. Return to the breath. And on your next exhale, come to center. Back to hands and knees. Right hand to the center. Inhale, lift the left hand, fingertips up. Exhale, slide it under. Keep the right hand flat or extend the arm, pressing the fingertips. Next exhale, see if you can creep the fingers a little bit further away from the body. And then next exhale, come back to center. Both hands on the mat, widen the knees, bring the big toes together, sit back in a child's pose. As we're in child's pose here, I want you to bend the elbows, bring the palms together and drop the hands behind the head. We're going to take 5 good breaths here. And I want you to explore expanding the rib cage while you're in child's pose without any restriction on the back ribs. So as you inhale, expand everything evenly. And then exhale. On that last breath, bring the hands back down. Return to hands and knees. And we're gonna do just a little bit of a flow here. So if you wanna take full plank, you can. I'm gonna do it on my knees and I'll invite you to do the same. Make sure that your palms are in front of the shoulders here. So we're gonna take an inhale at hands and knees. And then we're gonna chaturanga down on the exhale. We're gonna inhale Cobra. And then exhale Child's Pose. And we're gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale, knees. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale, back. Inhale, hands and knees. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale, back. Come back to hands and knees. We're gonna do a side plank here. And I want you to notice what happens with the breath as we continue through these postures. And also the mind. If you're focusing on the breath, the mind will not wander somewhere else. Coming into a modified side plank, we're just gonna kind of drop on our left hip. And then left forearm comes to the ground. You're gonna put your right foot off of the mat in front of you for balance. So the left knee is also gonna be bent, but I want you to make sure that it's pointing straight center. So the knee will be lined up with the hip straight down, like a 90-degree angle. And then we're gonna go push the forearm into the mat, lift the hips. You can just keep your hand right here. You can bring it up if you want. We're gonna take a good 3-4 breaths here. One more. Go ahead and lower. We're gonna do the other side. So just flip onto the right hip. I'm gonna turn on my mat so you can still see me. Oh, I guess if you're flipping away from the screen, you're not gonna see me anyways, but we're doing the same exact thing on the other side. So make sure your knee is pointing straight down first. Right knee pointing straight off the center of the mat. Left leg comes in front of the mat, off the mat for support. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, lift the hips, press the forearm into the ground. Engage the lower belly, help you stay lifted. One more breath. And lower. Good. Come back to hands and knees. We're gonna come up into a dolphin pose. So again with the forearms, interlace the fingers. Curl the toes under, lift the hips up. You're gonna drop the head here. So let the head kind of dangle. And just for a moment, just kind of play with this. Walk the toes towards the face until you just can't do it anymore. And then you can go back. We're gonna take 2 more breaths here and then come into a child's pose. Go ahead and drop the knees, bring the big toes together, extend the arms. 3 breaths here. Inhale to look up and then walk the hands to the right. Walk them as far as you can go, soften down towards the floor. Inhale to lift. Walk the hands to the left. Exhale, soften. Inhale, lift, come back to center. You can take 1 more stretch here if you want, and then return to hands and knees. Curl the toes under, We're gonna come up into regular downward facing dog. Check your foundation of your hands. Spread the fingers, press the roots of the fingers into the mat. Lift the hips up and back. Go ahead and start to walk the feet. It's okay if your back is a little bit rounded here. I'm more concerned about you pressing, that L shape into the mat and being sure that you're pressing the hands evenly to protect the joints and the arms. Begin to slow down your walk. Come back to stillness. Try your even breath here, expanding the rib cage upside down. This is considered an inversion. So just see what it feels like in these different postures. And then on your next inhale, lift the right leg up. Soften the left heel towards the mat. Exhale, drop the right heel towards the buttocks. We're gonna bring this right leg through, coming into pigeon. So next exhale, bring the right knee forward. Coming into that, number 7 with the legs, extend the left leg back. Adjust to be sure that your pelvis is even. Take a breath or two as you lengthen the spine first. Begin to soften the hips towards the mat. And then you can walk the hands down if you'd like. You could stay here. But if you feel like you can walk down, go ahead. You can stack your fists, rest the forehead. Even as you're doing this, keep the shoulders back. Keep them away from the ears. We're always trying to draw the inner edges of the shoulder blades towards each other. Good, 10 breaths here. We're staying here for 10 breaths. Feel the hips unraveling, softening, and opening. If you can go deeper by creeping the left toes back a little bit more, go ahead and do that. Once you're done with your last exhale, go ahead and lift the head. We're going to come out of this slowly. Bring the palms to the mat. Lift the torso. Curl the back toes under. Lift the back knee. And return to downward facing dog. Pedal the feet out. Or be still. Do what feels good. So on to the other side. Left leg up. Soften the right heel towards the mat. Drop the left heel towards the glutes. Find a breath here. Bring the left knee towards the front of the mat. Come into your pigeon on the other side. Drop the back knee, creep the toes back. Take a breath or two, get adjusted. Be sure the pelvis is nice and even. Notice where you're really gripping in the hips and try to soften those areas. It can be scary. There's some fear there. At least for me, I'm always afraid of injuring or tearing. So I have to consciously find those spots and let go. When you're ready, if you're ready, you can come down to forearms and stack the fists. And next exhale, lift the head. Bring the hands back to the mat. Curl the back toes under, lift the knee. Return to downward facing dog, pedal the feet out. And then keep the feet separated. We're gonna walk forward and come into mountain pose or Tadasana. So just look to the front of your mat and begin to walk forward. Press the feet. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. Go ahead and drop the arms to the sides of the body. We're gonna do a couple of neck stretches and then side stretches. And then Surya Namaskar. Excuse me. Grab the elbows behind the back. So even though we're focusing on the neck and the head here, which is the only thing that should move, still pay attention to where your feet are. Toes should be aligned straight forward, pressing the ball mounds of the feet. Tadasana legs is what we're looking for. Keep the chest lifted. Look off to the right. Turn the right, rotate it to the right as far as you can. And then keep the chin to the chest, roll across the chest. So you're looking over the left shoulder, having the neck rotated to the left as far as it can. And continue back and forth doing this. Stopping in those spots that need extra attention. And know that the cracking and the crunching is okay. It just means that your cervical spine is mobile. Let's go ahead, wherever you are, just take one more. And then bring the head back to center. Release the arms. Inhale, bring the arms up. Interlace the fingers. Exhale, bring the hands in front of the heart. We're doing what is called the asthma breath. I don't think you have asthma, but it's good for people that need to get air into their lungs, fill their lungs. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. We're doing this one more time. Inhale, reach up. Interlace the fingers. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. So even when we're doing that and strengthening the intercostal muscles in the ribs, that helps with respiration also. Inhale the arms up one more time. And then grab the left wrist. We're gonna do a side bend here. Exhale, lean to the right. Inhale, back to center, grab the right wrist. Exhale, lean to the left. Back to center, bring the arms down to Surya Namaskar here. Begin in Tadasana at the front of your mat. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, look up. Exhale, step back. You can use your knees here. Come right down to the mat, Chaturanga. Inhale, lift for Cobra. Curl the toes under. Exhale, take it back to downward facing dog for 5 breaths. You could also do child's pose here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, look up, step forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. One more time. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Inhale, look up. Exhale, step back, lower in your Chaturanga. Come to your knees if you need to. Inhale, lift. Curl the toes, exhale, downward facing dog. Or child's pose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, look up, get to the front of your mat. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms all the way up. Exhale, hands in front of the heart. Back to Tadasana. We're gonna do Warrior 1 or Virabhadrasana 1, and we're gonna do it really slowly because I wanna kind of focus on the internal rotation and the even breath for that. So start at the front of the mat in your Tadasana. You're gonna bring the right leg back first. So just, not too big of a stance. The thing with Warrior 1 is that our hips need to be facing forward. So be sure that your heels are lined up. Sometimes we need to walk the left foot out to the edge of the mat to make that, if we have a tight psoas, that kind of hinders the movement. So from here, press the back outer edge of the back foot, and then just kind of take your hand to your right thigh and just kind of pull it forward just to get that movement. You'll feel the left hip crease deepen, and then an internal rotation of this right thigh. Keep everything here in the legs. Engage the lower belly in and up. Release the tailbone. Don't tuck it. Just kind of soften it down towards the floor. And then bend the front knee. So if you're feeling, tightness in the right hip flexor area, that's okay. Keep pressing the back foot. And then keep engaging the lower belly. Lastly, inhale, arms up. Fingertips pointing straight up. And actually, for your arms or for your shoulders, so I just want you to stop. When your arms start to bend, stop and back out a little bit. You want to go to the edge of where your arms will stay straight and where they start to bend. Now, begin that even breathing with the rib cage. Expand the back, sides, and front. We're doing that 2 more times. And now bring your right hand to the back thigh. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, reach back with the left hand. Keep the front knee bent. Exhale, start to tip forward, grab the elbows behind the back. We're gonna come into a humble warrior here. So you're gonna drop your head the inside of the front leg. Keep the shoulders back, still drop the head completely. Keep that back leg strong. Press the front foot and push yourself up. Come back to Tadasana, and we'll do the other side. So I'm gonna move to the other side of the mat so you can see my legs better. Begin with the left leg back. Find your foundation. Press the outer edge of the back foot. Take your left hand and internally rotate that thigh. Be sure that your hips are facing off the front of the mat. Engage the lower belly. Drop the tailbone. Bend the front knee without moving what you've done. If you feel like you can, like on this side, I have less of a stop in my hip flexor. So I can actually creep my toes forward so the knee does not go over the ankle here. Inhale the arms up. And then find that even breath, expanding the rib cage evenly. Noticing how it lengthens you through the spine. And as you expand the rib cage and find that length, try to keep the length as you exhale. Don't let it collapse again. Keep lifting. One more. Bring that left hand behind the left thigh. Inhale. And then exhale, reach back. Inhale. Exhale, start to come forward. Inside of the leg, keep the shoulders back, drop the head. Keep the back leg strong. Press the front foot. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, come back to Tadasana. Good. All right, so let's do some wide leg forward fold, and then we'll do a balancing posture, and then we'll bring it back down to the mat. So take the right leg up and out. Be sure the toes are pointing straight forward. If you have your block nearby, you can grab the block. Pretty sure you've told me that you have a block. So why don't we just grab that? Put it down in front of you. Off the mat is good. And so like looking at myself here, I don't have a wide enough stance. I'm gonna go a little further. So for our wide leg forward folds, technically we want the ankles under the wrists. I'm not gonna do that, but that's theoretically speaking, okay? It also helps create space in the hips to get that forward fold. It's easier than when the legs are together, especially if you have tight hamstrings. This should be a little bit easier of a forward fold. So hands on the hips to begin, or the pelvic rim, or the waist. Elbows pointing back. Inhale, lift the chest, engage the legs. Strong, strong quadriceps. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Keep the elbows pointing back. Bring your hands down to the block. We're gonna stay here. So we're on the tallest level of the block. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of the head, lift the sitting bones, and then see if you can exhale to the middle. Here we go. Middle setting of the block. You can stay here and breathe, or you can lengthen one more time. Lift the sitting bones, engage the legs, exhale, fold. Bring your hands down to the mat, or the lowest setting of the block. Inner edges of the shoulder blades, like you're squeezing an orange or a grapefruit. Drop the head. Inhale to lift the head. Wherever your hands are on the block or on the mat, we're gonna put the left one in the middle below the face. And then we're gonna bring the right fingertips up to the ceiling. Exhale down. Right hand stays down, left fingertips up. Exhale back down. Bring your hands to your waist so your legs need to get strong again here. If you need to protect the lower back, you can bend the knees. Inhale to come all the way up. Walk your feet back together. We're gonna come back down to the mat. So front of the mat, Tadasana. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, look up. Exhale, step back. Lower in your chaturanga and stay on the ground. So tops of the feet are going to be pressing into the mat, hip width apart. Bring your hands to the lower ribs, elbows pointing back. We're going to engage all the muscles in the legs, especially the back of the legs, and press the pelvis into the mat to lift into cobra. So your hands are going to be doing a little bit of work, but you want most of the work to be coming from the back body. Take another breath. Exhale, release, line your left cheek, relax the arms. Bring your hands back to the mat. This time, the edges of the mat, so further away from the ribs. Press the tops of the feet. Inhale, lift, cobra. So eventually, you know, when you get the mobility, you know, my arms don't straighten completely, but eventually the arms will straighten while your pelvis stays on the mat. So just, it's totally okay to keep the elbows bent too. You go as far as you can. And release, lie on the right cheek. One more time, we're gonna lift. This time, fingertips off the mat, further away from the shoulders. So you're lined up with the shoulders. Inhale, lift. Press the tops of the feet, press the pubic bone into the mat, lengthen through the crown of the head. Go ahead and lower. Bring your hands to the mat. We're gonna lift and come back into child's pose. So lift yourself, come to hands and knees, and actually take a breath here to neutralize the spine for a moment, and then come back into child's pose. Grab the bottoms of the feet. I'm gonna take a good 5 breaths here. Once you're done with your breaths, bring your hands back to the mat. Return to hands and knees. And then cross at the ankles. And we're just gonna have a seat. Keep the knees bent. We're gonna do a modified boat pose here. So it's gonna look like this. We're gonna keep our hands behind us and just lift the legs halfway. You're welcome to do this or this. So take a breath. Decide which version you're gonna do. You can always change your mind. Exhale, lift. Two more breaths. Keep the feet flexed. And release. Hug the knees. Drop the head. One more time. Prepare. And lift. Don't hold the breath. The belly is engaged, but the breath should flow freely. One more. And lower, hug. Lift the head, bring the bottoms of the feet together, coming into Baddha Konasana. So drop the knees out to the sides. Grab the ankles with one ankle with each hand and just see how close you can get the heels to the body. You know, there's no contest, but just, you know, challenge yourself a little bit. Press the knees open or the legs open with your hands. Shoulders should be away from the ears. We're just gonna round the back here and drop the head. So just go ahead, tip forward, round the back, drop the head. Better way to say that would be to put the spine in flexion. Rounding the back has such a bad connotation. I gotta pick a different word or a different phrase for that that sounds better, but is understandable. Inhale, come all the way up. Bring the knees back together. Let's come into our Janu Shirshasana. Bring the right heel to the inner thigh, drop the knee out. And I want you to try something first. I'm gonna give you an option to do what we call the Janu Shirshasana preparatory pose, the prep pose. So that would be, and sometimes I would think it would be more difficult for some people, but you would bring the right leg back instead of forward. So you decide which one you wanna do. You can always roll the calf muscle out, but the heel should be touching the butt. And then we inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold. further away the knees are, the more of a stretch you'll get. Inhale, come all the way up. Other side. So bend the knee and decide which way you're gonna go. Inner thigh or behind you. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lead with the chin. Hinge forward. Decide where your hamstrings are stopping you. Keep your shoulders back. Just doing this, you're strengthening the inner edges. You know, there's deep rhomboid muscles between the shoulder blades or the scapula and the muscles along the spine. Just strengthening the back by keeping the chest broad as you're doing the forward folds. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot. Inhale, come all the way up. Cross the legs. We're gonna lie down on our backs. Grab your strap. First, we're gonna touch on the internal rotation one more time, like we did with the Warrior One posture. So straighten the left leg first and hug the right knee. I'm pretty sure we've done this before. Keep both feet flexed. And now you're gonna lift the left leg just a couple inches and rotate the toes in. From the hip socket, everything is rotating in, but you'll notice the toes turn in. And now lift another inch. Lift from the outer leg, the outside of the left leg. And lift with your leg, not your face. So soften the face muscles, soften the shoulders, tongue, jaw, throat. Two more breaths. Exhale, lower the leg. Release the right, do the same thing on the other side. Hug the left knee, lengthen the right leg. Lift the right leg, rotate in, internal rotation. Lift from the outer leg. We're strengthening the gluteus medius here, and the quadriceps are helping. Continue to breathe, soften the jaw, the throat. And next exhale, go ahead and lower. You're gonna bend both knees. Bring them up to the chest one at a time, rock a little bit left to right. You can do circles on the ceiling with your knees. So just kind of rotating the hips in another direction. And then drop the feet back down. Straighten the left leg, grab your strap. We're gonna put the strap around the ball of the foot. And extend the leg so it is straight. Grab both straps with the right hand, and the left hand will stay on top of the left thigh. Keep both feet flexed here. We're straight up the center line. And I know my hamstrings kept me down here for a very long time. So even if you have to be right here, if you're not feeling a stretch in the hamstrings, you can bend your knee and just do it with your hands if you're that far down. Point here is hamstrings. One more breath, and then we're gonna exhale out to the right. Glue the left hip down. It'll lift a little bit, but not too much. And then lift back to center using the muscles of the inner thigh. Grab the straps with your left hand, right arm extends out to the side. Keep the right hip on the floor. and just cross over the center line a little bit so we can stretch the outer leg. Come back to center, bend the knee. We're just gonna float that leg down and do the other side. This side, I do have to keep my knee bent. So I still feel it in my hamstrings though. Right hand on top of the right thigh. Both feet flexed. Exhale out to the left. Bring it back to center. Switch hands. Extend the left arm. Keep the left hip on the floor and cross over the center line. Come back to center. Release. Float that leg down. We're going to do a twist, and then it'll be time for Shavasana. So go ahead and bend the knees. The most exciting words of a yoga class. Ready for Shavasana. Left leg over the right. Just drop your knees to the right. Have goalpost arms or goddess arms here. Feel the front of the body, the pectoral muscles stretching. Keep the left shoulder heavy. Inhale back to center. Switch legs. And drop to the left. Take one more breath here. And then exhale back to center. Uncross the legs, hug the knees one more time. And also, when you're done hugging the knees, if you want to go into happy baby, you can. So grabbing the insides of the legs or the feet if you can and pressing the knees towards the floor. And then rock a little bit with that. You can also just stay hugging your knees. This is just one more really deep hip opener. It can feel a little awkward and vulnerable, but it's very effective. And go ahead and come to a stop. Bring the feet back down to the floor. Extend the legs, extend the arms, take a stretch here. Circle the wrists and the ankles, point the feet, take a yawn. Do what feels good here. And then prepare for your last posture, your Shavasana. So covering the eyes, turning the lights off, or just lying down, separating the ankles, palms facing up, away from the body. We're gonna take 3 deep breaths here. So inhale deeply. Separate the lips, exhale. 2 more times, inhale. Release. 1 more time. Inhale as deep as you can, expand all sides of the ribs. And exhale. Feel the muscles start to soften, feel things start to sink into the mat.